pressure, just before lunch, and we are just 15 minutes late, and Swati is actually sitting there with a bell, right? So we'll actually start. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your patience. We'll make it as interesting as possible. I have 4 of us here, and it's been an interesting set of conversations since morning. We've spoken about customers, obviously. We've spoken about innovation. We've spoken about technology. We've spoken about understanding your customers. And I've been in this field for some time, and what really something I'm trying to find my head around, and maybe Archana, I'll start with you. The entire conversation is around understanding your customers, right? And what I'm not able to get my head around, the fact that this customer persona is always changing. So the previous one was what they used to call the baby boomers. I am Gen X. Then there is millennials. Then there is Gen Z. Then there is Gen Alpha after this, right? So how do you keep pace? And I haven't even gone to the genders and the other communities which are there. How do you keep pace and how do we remain relevant across all of this?
So thanks, Kavita, and a very good afternoon to everybody. I think a lot of thoughts flowing since morning. See, understanding customer, it's a journey. And if you ask me, honestly, you know, before we get into what the customer want is, there are 3 categories. I would like to put it in 3 categories. The first is the potential or the prospect ones, where you really want them to be your customers. The second set of customers are your own existing customer. Let's say you are a brand and you have some set of customers, so that's second. And the third one is your customers of competitions, okay? Now, I think the middle one, which I said that your own customer, it's very, it's fairly easy to understand their needs because they're interacting with you day in, day out. They have a lot of interaction. You understand their need. They are very vocally telling you, there's some silent customer, but still to the pattern you can understand. The two ones, I mean the ones who are wanting to be a customer or a potential one who is doing a lot of research on a product, which product he wants to buy. And the third one, which is the customers of the competition, obviously there has to be a lot of research. Now, when we talk about research, there can be qualitative research, there can be quantitative research, and there can be interviews and through which you can understand. Now, that's the first step. Once you have the input, what do you want to do with the input? Now you know what are the customers' need. The second step is to create personas. When we talk about personas, if I have to talk about Reliance Jio, I'll just give some examples. So for example, gamers, and I'm talking about home business of Reliance who deals with ultra speed internet, okay? So as a gamer, what does a gamer want? A gamer want a high speed with no latency. So he doesn't want any latency because he's playing, right? So that's what the gamer want. And so you need to have a persona around it, right? The second one is the customers who are high on internet. Now high on entertainment. So these are typically those customers, who are doing a lot of binge watching. They are soaked in, they want to watch 6 episodes completed within a night. So that's your second persona. Similarly, we can create personas once we are very clear about the need. And once, what does the persona help you do? The personas generally, help you with obviously the higher sales, higher experience, customer experience, the higher the experience, obviously the sales and revenue. So they translate into your numbers, they translate into your revenues. Now, the very relevant piece Kavita, I am touching upon, the one which you said, the changing needs of customer. Now, globally, if you'll see, there have been a lot of research about it. Almost 43% of customer, changes in a span of 2 years or 3 years. So 43% is significant. How do we keep a pace with those changing needs? See, I feel no matter which generation it is, listening to customer is not a one-time activity. It has to be very, very real time. The more real, the more valid your personas are, the more faster you can actually make those changes into your product and services, and that's how you are going to take it forward. Listening to customers, understanding customers, doing a lot of research is something that will make it very relevant. So that's what I feel, Kavita.
I have my mic. So got it. So for potential prospect and customers of competition. Pradeep, I'll move on to you now. So we've understood the customer, right? Now, when we talk about this part of understanding the customers, now just one simple question after this. We've understood the customers. How do we understand the customers before the competition? That's it. And then how do we get ahead of the competition? Because I would like to believe what she's saying, everybody would do the same. So how do we do it faster?
Okay. So the way is, as I mentioned, that in my presentation, that you need to empathize with the customer and you need to listen to your customers, right? So that is one. Now, in order to get ahead of your competition, what you need to do is mix with your customer to the extent possible. See, I'll give you one example. A lot of you have seen this 𝗕𝗏𝗄𝗧 vehicle of Tata Motors, right, which came into existence somewhere around 2004-05. Now, before this particular vehicle was conceptualized, it was thought of that we need to have a light commercial vehicle, because otherwise Tata Motors was more into heavy commercial vehicle and medium commercial vehicle. Now, and none of the competition was there at that time into the light commercial vehicle space, right? So when this decision was taken, the team went into the ground. They started interacting with the cargo people who used to do light cargo transportation over short distances, because that is what this particular category of vehicle will cater to. Now, when you do that, you need to understand the actual pain points of the customer, and you need to address that through your product. So it was found that this particular set of cargo transporters are very much pained from the aspect of, there were three-wheelers, right? These three-wheelers used to do that particular activity, but it's pretty unsafe. The three-wheelers used to get toppled down, the driver will get injured, and a lot of such accidents used to happen. So that is one key point which is there. Now, when this interaction further deepened, actually it came to the extent of saying that even it is a prestige issue of the customer to drive a three-wheeler rather than he would prefer to drive a four-wheeler. And this particular input was one of the turning point in the decisions that 𝗕𝗏𝗄𝗧 needs to be a four-wheeler type of a vehicle, and without those handles it has to have a steering so that it looks like a four-wheeler and it gives like a car type of a feeling, though it is a cargo carrying vehicle. So that is where actually you need to interact more even before your competition does, and you need to understand your customer to the depth it is required. And by doing this, actually Tata Motors created a new segment in that particular category. And later on you see the competition has also built similar vehicles and they have come into that particular category. But it was this insight of the customer which actually helped that you move ahead before your competition goes there. So that is what is important, is intermingling with your customer and understanding the basic needs. Right?
Got it. Thank you. Just moving on to another dimension, and this is again a question which is coming out of my thought as such. Everybody talks about developing a customer service model. I think I would want to move from the stage of developing and investing in a customer service model. And I'm talking about investing in terms of resources, whether it's money, whether it's people. So we've developed one. I just want to understand how important and urgent it is to invest in one, and what are the key components and ingredients of a good customer service model that works?
Thanks, Kavita. Thanks for the question. But before that, before I even start, I think, I'm not sure if you all noticed, we have Archana, who heads the customer experience, but she talks about numbers, sales, and revenue, right? That's music to ears. For a sales guy like me, I don't think I could have heard something better. So as we evolve, I think what we have also started realizing is we don't look at our customer support or customer experience as cost center anymore. They are profit center, right? Probably, I think that is probably one of the biggest advantage or that we can talk about today. So customer experience, just before I start talking about it, the advantages, just one trivia. I'm not sure if all of you know, Freshworks as a company came into existence because of one bad customer experience that our CIO faced. Right, so he was moving from US to India, he broke his TV, he tried reaching a lot of people and he didn't get a reply. He thought he had to build a tool. So from that day, I got to know about this. I've been hoping I encounter one such problem that will transform my life, right? but the hindsight, we all hate bad customer support service, right? And we don't have time for bad experience. Just imagine few years back, we didn't have too many problems. We had a HUL, we had a PNG, we had a Maruti, and daddy of all, we had State Bank of India. Our life was taken care, right? But just imagine the plethora of logos that we work with. Today, we work with close to 60 to 80 brands to take care of our personal needs. Just think about financial requirements. We have a payment app. We have a health insurance provider. We have a life insurance provider. We buy car insurance, and then comes loans, cards, banking, investing, a lot of other things. So at any point in time, we work with just 6 to 10 financial brands to take up our own financial needs, right? So that actually, maybe Steve Jobs once said that the world is going to be very noisy and there's going to be a lot of clutter. And it's going to be extremely hard for us to get your customers to remember you, right? But when he remembers you, it has to be for the right reason, correct? And this is what a great customer experience can do. It cuts through all the clutter and you get straight to customer's heart, right? That's one big advantage. Number two, this is more personal. I learned it from my son. So every time he wants something, all he has to do is just walk up to me like a toy, just flex his cheeks and put a smile on his face, and I end up smiling back, right? It's very infectious. Even after a hard day, it's difficult to just hold my smile back. The moment he sees that, he comes up and asks me, Papa, can you buy me PS4? Let's play together, right? So the biggest lesson is the best way to sell more to your customer is when he's actually smiling, right? But do we really do it consistently? That's a question we ask ourselves. And I think I've seen an example, a real life example of this happening with PhonePe. Few years back when demonetization were happening, they were growing very rapidly. They were already executing about 40 million transactions, but within no time, they had to start executing 300 million transactions, right? So it was an unimaginable journey for them. We luckily, as Fresh, we were part of the journey. We're still helping them relook their customer experience platform. We're learning. But what happened here was we had automated, we understood the customer profile very well, what they want. Money is a very serious business and we need immediate reply, right? I go and tell them I've transferred 10,000 to my brother who's stuck somewhere, and they come back and say, I'll come back to you after 2 days. I don't think that's the answer that we need, right? So we need instant answer, and the answer has to be relevant and it has to be knowledgeable, right? So this is exactly what we did. We clearly automated almost 80% of their queries. So that actually got them a very happy customer lot, right? And and how that really matters, because that leads to a loyalty, and the loyalty has to have trust. For you to build trust, your support has to be consistent, seamless, and continuous, right? This is exactly what happened with PhonePe and how that resulted in an amazing journey for them. And probably the third and last lesson that I would like to share is again something personal. I've been a support rep myself, right? So every time the customer calls me, I used to ask the dreaded question, what is your name? How may I help you? Right? And this guy would have already spoken to 5 other customers. When he lands on my desk, he's already irate. He wants an answer that's immediate. So probably in the entire journey, we forget about the employee, right? We don't really give them the right tools or the technologies. We look at process, we look at companies, but how much time do we really spend to make sure our employee is extremely happy? Just make sure his experience is great so that he goes and delivers those delightful moments to your end customers. So I think these are the components. I think that kind of rest of it, I think some of it Archana and Pradeep covered.
Perfect, thanks. We started with customers, we came to competition, we tried to speak about getting an idea of what goes into it. Another thing which I tend to struggle with at times is, and maybe again, just an opinion, that we have a business strategy and then we have a customer strategy. And somehow you tend to feel that everybody talks about it, but the two of them don't come together. So the business is always about get your profit, numbers, sales, everything in place. But yet at the same time, the second conversation shifts to customer is king. So the customer strategy and the business strategy, should they align? Should they be separate? And if they have to align, how do you align them and drive that one consistent message across your org?
Okay, so your question, the answer to your question is business strategy and customer strategy has to be aligned.
Should, yeah.
Right, and every business has a customer to serve. So unless you don't define customer strategy, I don't think business strategy will be in a complete sense, right? And I strongly believe that customer service is not a cost center. So I think we need to change the mindset that customer service is a cost center. Customer service team has a opportunity, huge opportunity in terms of getting more business and adding to the top line. To answer your question specific to it, that how do we CFO and then get the strategy aligned? In my previous note, I mentioned the finance team along with customer meeting and so on and so forth. That really helps us in terms of aligning the entire mindset that do I need to invest X while I may not get the return of X in 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, right? So net, I think definitely customer strategy has to be aligned with the business strategy. I just would like to have quote one more thing here. The service team which I led in Vodafone Idea now. So just to give a background, I manage the non-mobility part of it from the Vodafone side. And the service team, they have a highest amount of trust with the customer. So we deal with OTTs and we deal with enterprise customers and so on and so forth. And the customer raise a question to the service manager that I want a link between A to B. Can you give me a feedback, right? So the point which I'm trying to make it is that we do contribute more than 20% in terms of the repeat business to these things. So customer service does add to the top line, and business strategy can't be detached from the customer strategy.
Perfect. And so we've done one question each, and yes, in the interest of time, we will make sure we take care of that. We've learned something. We just want to know, maybe in maximum 3 words from each one of you, pitfalls or things which are definite no-nos which we should not do. And sincere request, don't give Gyan answers, okay? Don't give search engine answers. So if I have to say things which you know that should never be a part of your customer experience strategy, or anything which you feel will not work in favor of the customer. In the interest of time, because Swati is staring at us, we start with you.
3 words you said. I won't be able to complete in 3 words, so 3 sentences. Okay. So first one is, I think what Dhaivat was talking about, align the CX strategy with business. That's very much important. One. Second is, involve customer in the creating a customer journey, not after the journey. And obviously, I think these 2, and I'll leave rest to Prakash.
Difficult to speak after a customer experience expert, right? Yeah, but quickly, one, automation, just understand when to start, when to stop, know your customers well. A lot of customers who want automation, and I don't want a bot to answer me when I'm hungry and I don't get it on time. And the second part is make the employee the champion. A lot of times, like I said earlier, we miss out them on the entire journey, so make sure they get, this is for you, please make them the champions and put the right process and tools in front of them. I'm sure customer will see it right. That's probably one pitfall that I've noticed a number of times happening. And also, when we invest, when we buy tools, what we have also seen is in the market, companies start buying multiple tools, superstar tools, but we hardly fail to check if all of this will work together and make sense to the customer and to the employee.
I'll just take one more because I said 3 sentences. So taking a clue from Prakash, so one more thing which we should be doing is, see, generally we try to improve the entire customer lifecycle journey right from the discovery till the usage. Let's not do that. Prioritize what 2 or 3 things which you want to do, make difference in the journey, and work on that. I think let's not solve for world hunger. Let's only pick 2 or 3 things, prioritize, and then go about it. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just touch upon 2 points which I think important from a pitfall point of view. One is what we discussed as the last question, that linking your customer experience type of initiatives with a business KPI. Because unless that is done, the business will not exist. So that is one important pitfall what we miss out. The other important thing is don't just automate for the sake of automation. Because if you automate, if you are doing something wrong, then you will automate it. So the mistake what you are doing in 1 hour today, you will do it in 1 minute. That's the only difference, right? So address the right problem for the customer and then automate the whole thing. So that is more important.
Okay, my 2 cents on this is, first of all, I completely agree, standardization is not the answer. While we are developing AI, ML, automation, bot, RPA, so on and so forth, however, each customer has his own needs and expectations. We need to map that and need to be flexible to be customized. Point number one. Point number two is, don't ignore the customer sentiments. Emotional experience is the absolute key in today's world, where I give an example that even if one instance is there while you have done 100 things right, that instance will be there in customer's mind for years, right? So that's my 2 cents.
Perfect. So align the customer and the business strategy. Involve through the entire journey, not towards the end. Make employee champion. Choose your battles. Don't just automate for the sake of automating. Standardization is not an answer, and EQ still stands. With that, you can all go for lunch. Thank you so much.